Hello, welcome to Pirkei Avos with Rabeinu Yonah. We're on chapter 4 in the middle of Mishnah 12. Mishnah Yud Beis. The Mishnah continues. Rabbi Shimon says, Shloisha Ksarim Haim, there are three crowns. Keser Torah, V'Keser Kahuna, V'Keser Malchus. There is the crown of Torah, the crown of the priesthood, and the crown of kingship. The Keser Shem Tov, Ola Al Gabehem, and the crown of a good name is better than all of them. Let's see what this means. Says Rabeinu Yonah, Keser Kahuna Nitin Lebeis Aaron, the crown of priesthood was given to the house of Aaron. So anyone who's a Kohen, he has the crown of Kahuna, crown of priesthood. Shnemar, as it says, V'haiselo Lazaru Achrav Bris Kahuna Solam. Keser Malchus Nitin Lebeis David, the crown of kingship was given to the house of David. Shnemar, as it says, Zaru Leolam Yeh V'chiso Kashemesh Negdi. So all Jewish kings have to descend from King David and King Solomon. Mashiach will come as a descendant from King David. Keser Torah, so it's only for certain people. The Keser Malchus and the Keser Kahuna is only for certain people by virtue of birth, being born a Kohen or being born a descendant of King David. Keser Torah, the crown of Torah, Munachas L'chol B'Yolol, but the crown of Torah is for anyone to take. Harotza Liskos Bo Yavisk, someone who wants to merit the crown of Torah, go and take it. If you work hard and study Torah, you'll get the crown of Torah. V'zeh HaKeser Hagadol Shnei Aksarim, and the crown of Torah is greater than the crown of priesthood and the crown of kingship. Kemoshe Amar Rabbeinu Zichron L'Bracha, like a rabbi said, Shlosha Zerimim, there are three crowns in the temple. There were three crowns in the temple. Literal. Here we're talking about literal crowns. Zer Shulchan, there was a little crown that went on the table, and the Shulchan that was in the temple. Zer Mizbeach HaPanimi, there was a crown that went on the inner Mizbeach, the inner altar where the incense were burned. V'zer Kapor She'al Aron, and then on the covering of the Aron, in the Holy of Holies, was a crown. Shabu Menechas Torah Choros Alaluchos, and that's where the Ten Commandments were. The Ten Commandments is the Torah, where that's inscribed on them. The Ten Commandments of the Torah. And there was a Torah in there. Now, which one was in the holier place? The crown that was on the Aron, which represents Torah, or the crown that represents the Shulchan and the Mizbeach? The crown that represents Torah and the Aron, that was in the inside. That was in the Holy of Holies. Only the Kohen Gadol, only the high priest could go in there once a year. That was the holiest place in the temple. So we see here that the crown of Torah is greatest, is the holiest. The Torah is more honorable than the table. And what does the table represent? The table in the temple represents the table of kingship, the Keser Malchus. And from the altar, Shehu Keser Kahuna. That represents the altar. The crown on the altar represents the crown of priesthood. The priests would bring incense every day. Now there's another proof that the crown of Torah is greater. The Torah refers to the priesthood and the kingship as houses. It says, Beis David, the house of David, it also says house when it talks about priesthood. Shenamar la'Aaron. He said to Aaron, Beis Levi, the house of Levi. Of Eliuras Hashem Shu Keser Torah, but that's when it refers to kingship and priesthood. It says the word house. But when it talks about fearing God, which fearing God is really a representation of Torah, Ein lo bais miyuchad. It doesn't say bais. It doesn't say house. Shenamar, it says Yirei Hashem Baruch Hashem. Those who fear Hashem will bless Hashem. B'chol hamakom, any place asher askir Hashemi avo elecha barticha. Anywhere where you bless my name, or anywhere where you mention my name, I will bless you. So Hashem is saying that when it comes to kingship and priesthood, that's limited by using the word house. It's only in the house. You have to be descended from a Kohen or from the house of David. But when it comes to those who fear Hashem, anywhere where people mention Hashem's name and fear Hashem, Hashem will bless them. They're not limited to their birth. Okay, then we finished and we said, V'keser Shem Tov Ola Gabeim, the Keser, the crown of a good name, is the greatest. Rotzalomer, that means to say, L'chol Haksarim Tzarech Keser Shem Tov, every crown needs to also have the crown of a good name. Varihu Toli B'Keser HaTorah, it's dependent on the crown of Torah. So the crown here, the crown of a good name, is not some independent thing, but rather it's dependent on the crown of Torah. What does a person have a good name for? What makes a person to have a good name? Only a person who studies Torah and does mitzvahs. That's what makes a person have a good name. Val inyan zeh nemar, and on this it says, Tov Shem, Meshem and Tov. A good name is better than good oil. Rotzalomer, what does that means to say? Im yaniach adam bebeso shemen aparsimon. If someone puts the oil of an aparsimon, it's a very, nice scenting, has a pleasing scent. He puts it in his house. Shu tov mikol hashmenim. It's the best smelling oil that's out there. Yisangu barecho agadol v'atov anshe beso v'chol hashchenim v'akrovim lebeso. It's going to be a geshmaka smell. It's going to smell very good to him and to everyone else that's around. Aval harachok, that's close by. Aval harachokim lo yaricho osareach. But those people that are far away, they're not going to smell it. That's because a smell, a good fragrance, doesn't travel that far. Aval hamuchta b'shem tov, but someone who has a good name, afilu hu omi b'zav, even if he's sitting in the corner. Shima holich misof ha'olam v'atzofa. What he has to say and people will hear about him from one end of the world to the other. So that's why it says a good name is better than good oils, because good oils, they'll only smell good and fragrant to someone close by. But someone who has a good name, people will hear about him from one end of the world to the other. You think about this. Think about someone like Rav Elyashiv. Rav Elyashiv was the rabbi of a small shul in Mea Sharm. He didn't make himself famous, getting popular, important positions, but everything he said had ripples throughout the entire Jewish world. People heard about him, the entire world. The same thing with Chaim Kanievsky. He didn't have an official position. He learned in Kol Chazanish, in a little corner of Bnei Brak, on 23 Rashbam Street. And whatever he said, people heard. Because he had the Keser Shem Tov. He was a man of a good name because he was famous for his Torah study and his fulfillment of mitzvahs. The same with the Chazanish. Never had an official position, but totally transformed the Jewish world. It's very, very impactful. A person doesn't need to be famous to make a big difference. Just to study Torah and to do mitzvahs and to try to serve Hashem to his best. Okay. And it also says, V'yom hamavis miyom hivaldo. The day of death is better from the day of birth. Rotzalomer. That means to say, K'mo Shem Tov Yoser b'chashivas al Shemen Tov. Just like a good name is better than good oils, Kein chashav yom hamavis al hivaldo. Al yom hivaldo. So too, the day of death is better than the day of birth. L'mi shenifta b'shem tov. For someone who dies with a good name. Someone who dies with a good name, the day of his death is better than the day of his birth. We'll see what does that mean. But people do the opposite. People are happy when someone's born, but they're sad when someone dies. Because they don't have understanding. Mashal Medina. So I'll give you a parable. When a boat comes in from sea, one boat comes in from sea and lands. And one boat goes from land to sea. The boat that goes to the sea, they're very happy, right? They christen a boat. It's like a whole party. But the boat that comes in, they're happy, but they're not as happy. These people, they're fools. The boat that's going to the sea, they should be afraid. Who knows what could happen? So many dangers could befall it. But the boat that's coming in after its journey should be very happy. It survived all the hardships. So too when a person's born. He says you should be worried when a person's born. How do you know he's going to be a good person? Maybe he'll choose evil. But when a person dies with a good name, people should be happy because he was successful in fulfilling his mission in this world. Fine. And then at the end, Rabeinu Yonah says, Rabbi Yomer, Aser Ritzonach Kiritzonach, Kadesh Aser Ritzonach Kiritzonach, Bata Ritzonach Mipnei Ritzonach, Kadesh Vata Ritzonach Mipnei Ritzonach, Perusha B'Perek Sheni, Tzad quotes another part of the Mishnah, which we already explained in chapter 2, Mishnah 4. But we learned that the crown of a good name is the best. And the reason is, what does it mean to have a crown of a good name? Is that people hear of your good name, that you study Torah and do mitzvos. And with that, we finish Mishnah 12.